Once again, you're most welcome to the Youth Roundtable Edition 2025. My name is Masawi Ivan and I'm privileged to be your host. Today is a table full of distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. From my farthest left is someone who is very familiar on the Youth Roundtable, a friend of ours, Omia Abraham, who is an ex-official for the 90th Guild in Makerere. He's a man who is very passionate about his district of origin and issues of Northern affairs. You're most welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, my brother.
As you move closer towards me from Abraham is, I think, the most familiar face to the show now. That is Sarah Kojjo. Sarah Kojjo is a lawyer, a law student as well from the Islamic University in Uganda. You're most welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
What is new at the IUIU University?
Exams.
Yeah. Well, we wish you success.
Oh,
and
thank
all
you.
our viewers from IUIU, we wish you success. As you move towards my right from Sarah is His Excellency Amanya German, who was the 16th, 15th, actually 15th, the 16th is Tunduru Jonathan Ra. The 15th Guild President of Kyambogo University is also an aspiring chairperson of the KYU Convocation of 2025 as well. He's also aspiring a lot of things that he'll have to tell us, but he's making a maiden appearance to the Youth Roundtable. We want to welcome him. You're most welcome, sir.
Thank you, Ivan. It's a pleasure being here today.
Yes, coming towards me, my immediate neighbor is a leader of us all, the 32nd Secretary for Female Affairs, Uganda National Students Association, and the 86th GRC for the School of Medicine. Honorable Asiimwe Hillary, you are most welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
We are always grateful that you turn up whenever our invitations are reached. Our topic of discussion today are the blurred lines of party politics, taking a case study of Makerere University Guild politics, where in the past weeks we have seen a lot of headlines coming out from the roles of a guild president in a university and where should they be limited or be integrated in the national governance of this country, and where the student leaders lie in the framework of the national leadership of the country. Before we kick deep into context of affairs, my brother, Honorable Omia Abraham, I want you to give us and the viewers who are not part of the Makerere University community, because she was, but she has also taken some time, at least you're more recent from Makerere. What was the look of events before we dive deeper to the topic?
Thank you very much, my brother Ivan. And first and foremost, allow me to wish you a belated birthday, which you recently celebrated yesterday.
Thank you.
And based on the recent unfolding event that has sparked of lots of talks on the social media, most particularly, it was the exhibition week. It was just like any other particular event whereby the head of state was hosted, pertaining in his jurisdiction of work, of his service that he's supposed to offer to this very particular country. He was hosted, and I want the viewers to look at it in this very particular, using this analogy, that the Guild President, the current Guild President of Makerere University, His Excellency Churchill Ssentamu, is just like a father in a family, whereby if you have visitors at your home, regardless of who has brought the visitors, you cannot fail to show up. You cannot fail to show up. Now, the event that saw that very particular spark in the social media, basically it was a display also casting of the research that the government has been allocating fund to it, most especially, partly it might have been that as a follow-up to assess the progress and get the feedback from those who are the front line doing this very innovation work, both in the arts and in the science fraternity.
Thank you very much. At least you clearly state that it was a responsibility of the president to do oversight on the programs that him and his government lay down in line with education. Coming to His Excellency German,
Yes, please.
given your expertise as a former guild president,
Yes.
my particular area of interest is where do you think, giving reference to your time of service,
Yes.
student politics in this country's political architecture lies?
Thank you so much. To expound on that, student politics lies entirely throughout the whole university. Because, yes, university constitutions, mostly the guild, do not allow the students to come under partisan politics. But over time, you've seen students wanting to align with different parties. If I draw back, I was a guild president of Kyambogo University in between 2017, 2018. Those are about 6 years ago. To be honest, it is very rare. On a scale of 1 to 10, you would find it's actually 2 or 3. You give it a 30%, where you find a president, student president, aligned with the current political party. Why? Because of the wave. So at whatsoever moment, we have to know that the partisan politics will always influence what actually lies within the university. But drawing back to a case of Makerere and what happened over the past week, one thing to note is as a guild president, as an emerging leader to all young people out there, whenever we come or show up to serve, one, you have your own agenda as a person before even the party comes up. Two, you find personally you have the interest or there is a gap you've seen and you feel during our tenure of service, I think we need to give this institution this outlook. Then the other partisan, the other kind of party politics comes to play because, yes, as parties that actually fund students would want part of their interests put forward. But according to Churchill's gesture, I actually commend him. Why? Because as a guild president, I want to approximate that Makerere has about 35 to 40,000 students. And if you get to go and look at the voter turnout, you may find out that actually it's about 40% of the student population that goes to polls that votes. So it's not 20, it's not 20,000.
9,000.
Exactly. So out of the 9,000, when we break it down, you find that out of that, out of students who had come identifying, I want to call it identifying under different parties, did not scoop more than 5,000, 10,000. So which means most of the majority that the guild president is representing are actually students who didn't go to polls, who didn't exercise their right to vote, but again are members of the institution. So that's why you say the
when
gentleman,
you combine the votes of the NRM
yes,
and Basalirwa,
yes,
they outweigh his, which
yes,
makes that there is also a group that never subscribed to him,
yes,
which is the majority, but he's their guild president.
exactly. So he had to exercise his mandate, one, because when he's representing the students either at Senate level or at council level, it doesn't mean that he's representing certain kind or class or party students from a certain party. Because why I would want to interest Ugandans to know is whichever party these students come from, they go to the same classes, they use the same facilities, they use the same roads. So like everything accessible to them is actually at free will. So I want to commend him for being that humble, because as leaders, we ought to be humble, and I want to commend him for that. And it is the head of state, the president, who was visiting the institution, the biggest institution in this country. I want to say that's Makerere. So I want to say that it was very thoughtful of him and respectful of him to welcome the president as a person who leads the Students' Guild. I want to commend him for that. And I want to say that leaders out there, whichever parties we belong to, but when we assume service, let's put interests of students together. By him coming out to show that gesture means he's representing the student fraternity well. So I want to end it at that.
Thank you very much. Honorable Hillary, I want to pick your thoughts on the similar question on the gaps. Where do you think a lot of people give criticism to the roles and responsibilities, which should, as His Excellency German has said, should be integrated to civic responsibility you have as a leader. But first of all, I think ever since you left Makerere, where do you think, as a former guild leader at Makerere, there have been gaps, especially between students failing to work with maybe top management or the state, and have caused a lot of issues, a status quo that the current guild president is challenging?
Okay. First of all, like he said, I also commend His Excellency Churchill for his humility, for the respect, irrespective of his political affiliation. Because I want to believe, even if he came in as an independent candidate, he's possibly affiliated to the no political party.
By father?
Not by father. I read through his press statement where he says, was it the press statement? Oh no, it was a TikTok where he was saying that he went to pick the NUP card and he was denied the card, right?
They did the primaries, but he lost.
He lost. Okay, he participated in the primaries. So by virtue of participation in the primaries, I want to believe he is affiliated to the no political party. But irrespective of that, he comes out and honors to the presence of the fountain of honor. That takes humility, and I also commend the father for raising such a humble gentleman, such a good kind of person. So back to your question, the gaps that are in that have been left behind ever since I left, the political ground in university or student politics. I personally did not participate, and I was not affiliated to any political party. I ran an independent campaign. Even in the Uganda National Students Association, I was an independent. I was on the independent side. So I wasn't really affiliated because I personally condemn the interference of political parties in student politics. Whereas it has its advantages, it has its good side. We have political parties being able to groom students. We have groom political leaders. We look at the likes of Lilian Abba. We look at the likes of Nyamtoro. We are looking at Boniface, the MP of the northern region. I mean, those were once student leaders and affiliated to a certain political party. I do commend that. However, there are so many gaps that are left behind. Like our topic today, those blurred lines, because by definition of a blurred line, you're looking at an overlap. We are looking at those undefined or those gaps or those underlying spaces that are left that bring in that where you're looking at party interests not aligning with the state institution's interests. For example, the case of the Makerere University, you're going to find that certain party interests are being fronted above students' interests or interests of the students. You're going to find that maybe the ruling party is using the resources of a certain institution to advance their own interests or their own agenda. So it leads to a lot of things. It leads to cases of corruption. It leads to cases of instability and conflict. Because during my time, I have noticed that lately there aren't so many strikes at Makerere, but during my time, the strikes were a lot. Why? Because I think when I left, there was something, the university kind of aligned the student politics and tried to streamline certain things and change the whole kind of setting about how people represent themselves and whatever parties they come
A few
from.
years ago,
But before,
I think the most hated was His Excellency Leon's victory because there was a death
yeah.
of someone.
Yeah, but you realize that what is causing that are the divisions in the political parties. We had cases where we had people that are not even students coming in to support certain guild leaders just because they are affiliated to a certain political party. You find that the Chikoni people, they are not students, but they are coming in to support a certain guild leader just because they are under a certain political party. So we are looking at violence issues, we are looking at death issues, we are looking at conflict, and me, personally, I attribute all that to the cases that to political parties getting involved in student politics. I personally think that and believe that institutions of state should be independent, should build or foster a culture of independence among the student leaders, among the staff itself, such that we are building leaders, yes, from a ground of independence and sending them into a world where they will finally get to interact with, yes, the political parties, but they're coming from a point of independence. We are having certain students being denied to be able to express their agenda or to represent students just because of the certain political party that they are affiliated to. You'll find that, say, for example, an NRM candidate has come up. You mentioned something that Kyambogo doesn't allow political parties.
The constitution doesn't.
So for me,
they do align. They align to those political parties.
Okay, then it comes.
Actually,
which
in
I
all
heavily
universities, there is
support.
no guild constitution you find that
Yes.
clearly recognizes a political party in its guild constitution.
Okay, so then that comes back to the systems that we are setting in these institutions. I guess the framework needs to be strengthened. It needs to be strengthened in such a way that even if someone comes out and maybe aligns to a certain political party, maybe they should stand down. That is my personal thought, such that we build more, we strengthen those frameworks and build a more independent kind of leadership within the students to be able to overcome issues of party interests coming or overlapping the interests of students.
Ivan, I think to differ from what Hillary is saying,
Yes.
I would love to support the political grooming, because different parties have different ideologies. That's number one. And over time, not looking at the 2000s, but drawing back to the 87s, the 77, most of the leaders we've had, the prime ministers, the leaders of opposition, the outspoken leaders for this country have been from, yes, different political belongings, but you realize that their fruitful leadership came through the transition from university politics, then to the national politics. So in whatsoever thing we do, I would actually call for harmonization and social cohesion as we practice politics both in universities at national level. But these political parties have been breeding grounds for most of the leaders and the best leaders that we've actually
I
had.
think I started by commending that.
Yes.
I started by commending that.
Sarah.
But how about we look at them, how about the political parties? Look at them from a distance and maybe decide to groom them after their student tenure as
In reality,
leaders.
that is not possible.
But it can be possible.
Sarah,
It can be
I want to
possible
come
by
to you before I go to
strengthening
Omia,
frameworks.
who has done the two at the same time. The Political Party and Organizations Act states that a person who is eligible to be part of a political party is someone who is above the age of 18 years as per the Constitution of Uganda. The current crisis that we are really trying to examine are issues of where do we do politics of identity and politics of service. Should we do politics of identity? These are linked to our background, to our parties, to our institutions. And when do we do politics of servanthood, where we, irrespective of our background, we put our roles and responsibilities first?
Above, yeah.
First, I want to get your views on what my honorable members here have so far.
Okay, first of all, it is a very interesting debate that we are talking of a student leader taking a picture with our president in his capacity as a student leader, and it has caused this great and huge controversy. I'm very glad that this happens. There's a theory that says that we never know how life has, we never know the reasons for why some things happen until they are fully played out. And if I'm to see this Churchill incident, it is a reminder of what a true leader is supposed to be. First of all, I like the way he was mature in handling this situation. And it's not only that. First of all, when we go back to the legal part of it, as a student leader, as a guild president of Makerere, he's guided by the student code of Makerere. And I'm glad that I actually got an opportunity to read it quite recently. The student code under which he's supposed to lead, it says that he's supposed to be non-partisan as a student leader. And not only that, he is there to represent the students. You know, there is one thing about student leaders that students or youth, especially those people who are not yet out in the world working, you know, they have a problem. We all have a problem as students, is that we don't have a voice. We are speaking and they are dismissing us like, young generation, youth, Gen X, Gen Z, you know, and none of what we are speaking, much as it makes sense, they're not hearing it. Now, in his capacity as a student leader, he got that chance where he could easily advocate for the needs of his students, you know, because as a guild president, he's not representing himself. He's not there as a person. He's now a leader. He has a number of people that he's representing. The Prime Minister of Singapore, former Prime Minister, actually upheld that in his entire leadership of 31 years. He looked at the bigger picture. He would say, this what is happening right now, is it helping my people? It was all about my people. Now, him as a student leader, that was what he was supposed to do. You know, much as his father belongs to NUP or whatever political party, he was there in his capacity as a student leader. Yes, there is a right to participate in political parties, be affiliated with a political party, you know, join a political party, as it is there in right of association in the Constitution and according to that act. But however, when you become a leader, you have a social contract with your people. It is no longer about you, now my views as an independent person. You have to do things for the greater good of the people you represent.
Actually, it is a collective leadership, because you don't actually do the whole leadership thing as a guild president. That's why you have the guild cabinet from different dockets to advise academically, to advise project-wise, to advise when it comes to gender issues, disability issues, social issues, entertainment. So
yeah,
that is why you're not only a guild president, you have a few advisors by your side to really help you and guide you.
Yeah. And not only that, not only the fact that you're representing these people. Let's leave these things of now we hate the president as this political party. Let's leave them behind. The president is a person in a position of power. You have been presented with this chance of a person in a position of power visiting you and asking you, how should we move forward? And you're going to give out that chance simply because we hate you as a family, you know, in our clan. That's not how it's going to work. Because at the end of the day, you're representing your people and you're looking at the best interests of your people, because these projects, it was Innovation Week, they are funded by the government. You're not going to bite the hand that feeds you simply because you don't like the hand, you know, something like that. And if I am to continue deeper into the rabbit hole of the law of the law, on the legal side of it, it's nepotism on the side of the father to Churchill Nyanzi. How? According to the Anti-Corruption Act, nepotism is a situation where you give someone favors or disqualify them simply because of belonging to a certain group or being a family. It is illegal, totally illegal. And the Anti-Corruption Act is not only there for, it's there for people in positions of power, right? If you are in a political party and you are, let me say you're already in a position of power in that political party or position of influence, you're not supposed to influence the people around you to join that political party, because that nepotism. What does it mean? It means that when you're actually given the mandate to represent people, you'll be all about it's me, my family, myself, and I, which is not good for the greater good.
Like they are doing.
Exactly. So I feel like Churchill was right, and he was showing us how we should move forward as student leaders, and not only student leaders, but leaders at large.
Abraham, 103 years later, ever since Makerere started, Churchill is not the first guild president. We have had 100 guild presidents in the past.
90. He's the 91st.
He's the 91st.
Yeah.
But we have had 90
before him.
Guild
90
presidents.
guild presidents before, sorry. The universities, we all agree, like His Excellency German stated, building grounds for the nation in terms of leaders. The quality of leaders we get as a country also depends on the quality of the leaders the university builds. This I can tell you vividly as someone who has been at the same university with him, that after university you can know the quality of someone depending on how much the university also played in shaping. It was always a culture before that a guild president, even the visitor who is to the university, comes to the university, whether it was graduation or any other visit, it was your mandate not only to pose a photo but organize for his coming, mobilize students for his coming. Do you think that the current norms of seeing that student leaders are put to a corner to start setting distinct line, to start setting lines between the state and interference of student leadership disadvantages the students from actively participating in national governance?
Well, based on your question, before I answer your question, my legal scholar here would like, at the latter stage, I would like you to clarify to me the article, is it Article 29, that clearly, brings out the clarification on the freedom of association. And how comes you realize that all these institutions of learning are just like a sub-state within the state?
Yeah.
How do they have the guild constitution or the guild statute that is superior, contradicting to the major one? How comes? How is that possible? But
I think there is nothing
There's
constitution
nothing
or legal we have argued. We have actually, okay, we can conclude because
It's
we are
not- it
giving
doesn't contradict.
contradictions
You know,
and
it was a
video
matter-
sentiments at time, but let's conclude and come to maybe more issues in line with party politics. You can
No,
continue.
it was a matter of clarity that I would seek at the latter stage. But back to your question, first and foremost, I would really disagree with my colleagues over here. We can all ascertain and concur to the fact that universities, most especially higher institutions of learning, have always been the nursery beds for breeding those top class leaders that we have at the national level. Drawing back from history, in the operation of the first century of Makerere University, I had a chance to interact with Amanya German, and he told me of the thrilling story how they single-handedly, within the halls of residence, they started the Uganda Young Democrats, a particular forum that brought together people who were extremely idealistic, that had the capacity to challenge the status quo of this country, even within the within the what? The mother political party that they subscribe to. They had that ideological clarity. They had the capacity to
Even the NRA fished in Makerere. They Tumukundes were students.
yes. So we realize that drawing a distinct line that we do not need the partisan politics, what and what and what. Of course, the political parties, the different political parties, they have the clear mantle of nurturing these young people who affiliate to them. But credit must be given where it's due. If we draw back to history, you realize that the NRM government did an elementary fight to ensure that the politics that is based on ethnocentrism, the religious dogmas, and then those other petty factors were phased out. Even when the multi-party dispensation came in, I was trying to read through the acts when they first drafted it in 2005 and amendment that came in 2008. There were lots of shortfalls here and there that the multi-party dispensation system came in with. And then the latest one of that was the Supplement Act that was amended. It was in 27th of July 2020. Now addressed all these matters to ensure that we have a coexistence between the people who subscribe to different political ideologies, people who have that different belonging, such that first and foremost they all should exhibit patriotism, the patriotic nature. They should ensure that if it's a matter of the common interest of the Wananchis, the people that they represent, the party affiliation perspective should be put aside, and they come together and they operate together. So, which clearly would be in position to address all these matters that the commentators in the social media, they're coming and they're disregarding the gesture that Ssentamu Churchill had portrayed in the previous event, which personally I really think it's extremely wrong. And if I would ever get a chance like I have gotten right now, I would strongly disagree and would advocate that let these institutions of learning allow students to affiliate to their different political parties. Whereas there are pros and cons, they should acknowledge and just find the
But
mechanism.
the current drama that universities do, you saw the ballot paper, or you've been on a ballot. I have been on one in Kyambogo. There is nothing like a party symbol. There is your face and name and the box where they tick. But you've made noise, your FDC, your NOP, your NRM, you feed people.
Actually,
But on the
Makerere.
ballot, there is even no symbol.
With
They just
Makerere,
see
they put.
your photo.
Don't they?
Was there anything like an umbrella?
No, they do not portray the party symbols, but during the process as
They
you're
allow you
engaging
to
with
campaign.
voters, right now to make the
No, we
matters-
want to look at the real
ballot
ballot paper.
paper.
We don't want to look at the
In my
campaigns.
time,
Because
I
the
think
parties
there was
only
a-
come to provide momentum.
Mm.
Even us in past university politics, a party only gives you momentum, but everything is about you, the individual. The party is just to give you visibility that they have a platform. They will call me, I speak, but it is always all about you as an individual. So I think our question is, parties, the platform the parties are providing, because if he was the official flag bearer of the national inter platform, I think they would even have reacted more that we paid your nomination fees, we gave you our artists, we did this and this. But for his case, he's actually lucky that he's independent. But I think when we want to analyze the analogy, okay, we give investigation to also guild presidents working within parties. Where do you think the interests of the platforms they represent should be balanced with their equation of service?
Particularly, of course, you realize that the docket that they all sit in, the first top priority is serving the students. So, in that very particular line, much as the different political parties have invested in lots of resources, when it comes to the matters pertaining to students, with who have entrusted them with the mantle, who they represent, the parties should be in position not to interfere. They should step aside and let the guild president, in whichever capacity they have supported them, or in whichever capacity that they have offered them that good support to become the leaders, they let them to execute their mantle.
Thank you very much. We are going to go for a short break. As we return, I want to look, we see the issues of transitioning from the university politics to the national politics itself. On the show, I have certain people making those transitions and who are very good role models to young people outside there participating in university politics. Shall see you in a few.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create, and publish digital media or to access and use computers, other electronic devices, and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Once again, you're most welcome from the break. I will come to you, His Excellency German. We now want to ascertain, as we go closer, we are aware of primaries of the different political parties coming up for special interest groups. The roadmap of the special interest groups is also kicking part, and students, like we have discussed in our first segments, are all stakeholders of the special interest group as the law of Uganda as a state. We want to see, I want maybe we diagnose and examine the gap. Our guild leaders, Makerere at least has a very good example of nurturing university leaders who complete the cycle towards the end. Universities that are coming a bit older, there are IUIU, MAST, and now Guru, then Kyambogo, have been really struggling to see that they can maintain a leader who finishes the education cycle and completes it in the national cycle. Given your experience, I want to pose you a hard question. Where do you think the transition from university politics to national politics faces a challenge? Is it the welcome in the political space, or the irregularities that the current governance has set for young people? Like I sit at the multi-party youth forum, we have complained about the nomination fees being so high, they exclude people, financing of election models being too segregative to young people who have not yet achieved much. Where do you think is the gap?
Thank you for that question. The gap, first of all, it depends on where you're planning to transit to. That's number one. Number two, you'd realize that mostly all university students and graduates are actually qualify for MPship positions, president positions, but I believe in baby steps. Why I believe in baby steps is one, because for a student who is out of university, they have an idea to pitch. That's number one. Number two, they may be incapacitated financially, because the reality is at the level we are in 2025, 2026, to move from a door to door, house to house, I need to facilitate myself. I need to facilitate the person I'm moving with. So by all means, there must be some small source of funding from either yourself or any other well-wisher, of which that is very rare, for you to run a smooth campaign. But that said, to all the youth out there, we are having the youth structure the youth league elections, the special interest group elections coming through. And why I say presence is I am a former student of Kyambogo University, right? My presence in village and both at my workplace in Kampala and the projects I do out of Kampala would give me at least approximately 30% of time of my monthly time with my voter. So I am now looking at the other side of the coin. Who am I versing in an election I'll be going for? And where are they best? Trust me, at whatsoever cost you lose an election, if you know that you have a strong candidate based in your area of jurisdiction and they are full-time residents, because people want to really associate with people who stay with them because they are convinced that they know the problems they face on a daily. That's one. The other thing is transiting from university politics to national politics or party politics now means what financial muscle am I holding and what position am I looking at? I may give you my personal example. I finished university in 2019. I am still a student at UMI, but my resource base since 2019 up to now has drastically changed. And if I feel I can be able to run my election and fuel whichever means of transport I feel I have the confidence, right, to go for that election. Why? Because what determines the election results is the confidence of a candidate themselves. It would be very discouraging if I'm coming in for an election and I plan to get everything from somebody, somewhere, because at whatsoever cost, there must be, even if it's not monetization of votes, but there must be need for money and funds to run an election, to print posters, to transport you, to feed you, to accommodate you, most especially the youth eyeing at positions that are regional, even at national level, the National Youth Council. You don't campaign only in your home, you campaign countrywide. So the resource base and the financial muscle at the same time also matters. Then what comes last is the nature of a voter. Which person are we looking at now? If I appeared before a voter and I'm a candidate, I am selling to my ideas because that's a product. So if I'm selling to a product, me as an ambassador of that product, how are you able to perceive it? How am I able to convince you and satisfy the questions you've posed to me? If you're really convinced, it's actually, I would put it as 20% of the current generation that will vote somebody because of their idea.
No.
That's how bad we have gone as a country, and that is the reality of what I'm telling you. Why? Because I want to give examples from where I come from in the Western region, and I say, to a large extent, an idea comes second
Or last.
or last.
Me,
That
where I
somebody
come
will
from,
come to-
lately, in certain people, it comes last. Your pocket comes first.
Yes,
your
your pocket,
network-
your pocket comes first, but it doesn't depend on who has the highest amount of money.
When you look at the
People
foot
may-
soldiers,
People may.
an example of the foot soldiers,
Yes.
those people are not paid. They actually buy those things. They buy the overalls, they buy the capes because they are supporting a certain idea, not because they are looking into the
people
money.
supporting the candidate have the capacity to facilitate.
They are not
themselves.
facilitated.
To facilitate themselves.
No, because you put yourself in an image where they should worship you.
That means they are supporting the idea and not being there for the finances. We have moved from that position of voting for sugar and soap to voting
I think
for
in the
better
city,
thing.
I know your perspective can work, but he's giving me a village narrative. I'm
am
also a villager by
Absolutely.
for purposes of village.
You're going to find that is a small percentage of people as compared to the larger.
In my village, even if I spoke the brilliant ideas until the sun sets off, you'll find that they are still
Looking
okay,
at
nga
us.
you don't have a big house, the other one has a big house. Nga you don't have children, who are mature,
But you find that at the moment, in the form of setting, you
Okay,
don't have a house, you
let
have
me
nothing
say-
on you. You're going to go there and eat. You're going to just go there and enjoy the
Let
money.
me also pose a
I can
non-political
see-
question to you, Sarah, since
She
you
has
like
grabbed
being
my
a
mic.
person of the civil society. Universities don't only are not only a hub for political leaders, but also people like the Isaac Semakades, who head people like you, are people from Makerere. Do you think the university is doing enough grounding in terms of mentoring and building the quality of leaders? Giving an example of how the judges themselves in the courts you're going in terms of their controversies.
Thing is, universities, much as the universities are providing a platform, they are providing these responsibilities and advocating for people to come and join student leadership. At the end of the day, it is an individual. And when you look at Isaac Semakade, our president,
No, I'm
his
giving him
ideas
as
are
an
actually
example.
quite good. He's supporting rule of law. He's saying that the Attorney General shouldn't be on the Uganda Law Society, which are all forms of rule of law.
I think
And
look
you
at
look
it
at the
twice,
ideas
because
as very good.
Musa Sekana and Kiriwa were all at Makerere. They were actually them, they were even worse. They were student leaders. Isaac was not. But they are the ones again creating a controversy.
At the end of it all, leaders are not made. They are born. They're not born but made, yeah. They're not born but made. You find that you look at the things happening in your society and you have all these ideas. There's a writer that said everyone has a book, they just need power and the strength to write it. Like everyone has a story to tell, everyone has a way they need to impact and change their society, but they just need to get the power to change it. So at the end of it all, much as the universities are doing all that they are doing, giving them a platform, giving them the funds and everything with student leaders, it's at the end of the day, it's a personal basis. It's you as a person and your morals and your judgments that make you a good leader.
Every kind of responsibility that these people get even after university, during their term of office at university, every responsibility gives them that kind of experience that they get, and at the same time it may either influence their further official decisions both positively or negatively. So whichever responsibility we hold, they give us different experiences, because not only leadership at university comes through serving as a university guild president, guild representative councillor, but there are even those other associations. Say maybe if you come from Bugisu, you have an association bringing together all students from an area where you come from.
There are even course.
Exactly. Because whichever they give,
Class rep.
whoever holds that office a responsibility. And that responsibility adds an experience to that person.
Hillary, the debate of nature versus nurture is causing a lot of contradiction. Thank you. Hillary, I was coming to you. The country, when you look by its demographics and when you look by its representation in the national leadership structure itself, it shows that it's going to experience a transition either by force or by natural or biological factors, which may not, even if we may not want, we are going to have biologically young leadership given our demographics and then the look of how our top leadership is designed in terms of age. We have seen our colleagues try to analyze and some even give their perspective about the role of the nurturing of the student leaders to the transition and also the questions they need to address to coexist in the transition. But I want to come to you. Most of these parties are well aligned that they are supposed to have a party structure at a university that is absolving to the youth league and see that their mentorship is continued. But if you look by assessment, the percentage of those that come out, even at a time when we fought the multi-party system, will help build leaders, it is still low and demanding. I don't want to give a district where you come from that you may find people who can run for woman MP. There are many, but the system has not empowered most of those candidates to feel they will thrive if they expressed their interest. What are your thoughts on the nurturing part of our education and the political environment itself?
Okay. So as a country, we are, and in our political landscape, we are at crossroads of when it comes to the transition of power. We are looking at our president. We are looking at also the people that may be around him aging, and maybe anytime nature can take its course. And I believe every other person would be worried about what next. Are we getting back to where we came from? Because I don't think any of us has experienced a transition, not even our parents. Some of our parents have seen that. So it is worrying. It is really worrying, and we can only pray and do what we can in our capacities. When it comes to the question of nurture, well, like we earlier discussed, political parties, political platforms are a base for us for nurturing the leaders, are a base for nurturing the people that will take up these leadership spaces in time to come. So our call can only be that as we look as we are looking at the transition, we call upon the political parties. We are calling upon people that are empowered and are in positions of power to come up and look out for potential. Because like you earlier stated, there is a question of nurture and nature. We have so many people that have the potential but are not empowered to bring out that potential. We have people that are willing to speak, but just because they do not know who and where to go, their ideas are withheld and they cannot come out to speak openly, or they don't even have the platform where they can come out to say this or that. They do not know, they do not have the information. When it comes to the SIGs or the upcoming elections, the roadmap is out. But when I go back to Nakasongola, recently I was there because I'm also vying to be a part of the upcoming National Youth Council.
I thought woman MP now.
No.
Okay.
I'm still
I'll
a
encourage you
youth.
by the time we finish.
I'm still a youth. I want to go through all the levels. I will come to that. But let me go
You still
through
have
all
time.
that. I still
You're
have
like
time.
him and I.
Yeah. So I was recently back there in Nakasongola, and of course talking to people and looking out on how to work with them and all that. And of course with the upcoming nominations, which is in about a week or two, where we are the nomination at village levels, especially the NRM that will be coming up, we are having women not aware about certain issues. They are not aware that this is upcoming. So I was in a group of gentlemen, and these gentlemen were like, now how this has always been. It is us who pull people to come and occupy these positions. We pull up people, the leaders that have been in those spaces are the ones that go back to the villages, that go back into those spaces, or look out for the potentials, or even pull. Now when it comes to the women positions, they actually pull them into, they are not interested. They do not know the opportunities that lie under certain positions of power. They do not know the opportunities or the advantages that come with you being part of a certain council. They do not know. They're just telling them, because when you're sending someone to the National Youth Council, maybe at the district level, it has to have, if it's a committee having only men, there should be a woman. So women do not know, and they're pulling them, come and be part, just to balance the what? To balance the both.
The fashion.
The fashion, because that is what the Constitution says. But in a scenario that the constitution was not giving that provision of affirmative action, then the positions would all be taken up by the men. So it comes back to how are our leaders, how are we, the people that are being empowered, how are we going back to share the little bit of empowerment that we have to the people that are in our villages, to the people in the different sub-counties, or to the young people that are there and do not know what is happening in the political spaces. It also comes back to the bigger leaders and the political parties, like we have talked earlier, because these are nurturing grounds. These are people that have, these are spaces that have been empowered to send a message of growth with, or to send a message of empowerment to the people that they are leading, or the interests that they are trying to advance. So basically, for me, I'll summarize it in a way that we have to do the work. We, the empowered people, have to do the work of letting other people know that this is you. These are your interests. If you do not come up, and fight for your place at the table, no one is going to fight for that place. If your voice is not heard, no one is going to hear you. No one is going to know what you want. No one is going to represent you.
There is an issue of attitude, Mr. Abraham, Honorable, being raised. Attitude, but to some extent, I don't know whether it is as a design of the sensitization, it is the design of the environment, it is the design of the governance structure, that very many people young people lose interest in the most sensitive time of where they should more be interested in the governance of their country and in their management of affairs. In the transition itself, we have tried to assess why leaders disappear. And you know, some of these leaders were supposed to be advocates for creation of jobs of their classmates. But because they were nowhere on the table to see that they say there have been amendments or defend certain policy objectives to see that there is shape in the human resource of the country, of seeing there was over the weekend a daily monitor paper going by that young people are going to be pushed out from the district service commissions. What do you take of this?
Well, pertaining the attitude, my sister has just brought in a very good.
Your attitude is poor. Okay, that is the right.
No. Personally, I do not have a poor attitude.
Then
but
you
we
can
should
now
appreciate the fact that in a post-industrial era, the most pivotal things that we right now should rely on is one is information and technology. Now, on top of the abject poverty that the majority of the citizens of this country are grappling in, they do not have the information. A similar scenario, you cannot have attitude towards something that you do not have information about it. And automatically, if you have been told about something and you do not have idea about it, and someone comes and tells you that, you know what, this and this is bad, automatically you will take that negative attitude. Not for you to get back to neutrality and make you an informed decision pertaining on the decision to take. As far as what you have been told is concerned, it will take some time. So, in the contempt to address the attitude of the citizens of this country, we should appreciate the fact that civic education is extremely wanting, not only pertaining election, but in diverse matters pertaining this country. That is how best we can assess it. Now, when it comes to the matter of transition, when you look at the preliminary database from the UBOS, you realize that the youth, who serves as the shortest link, who bridges the gap between the old people and the younger ones, those are the minors below 18, they constitute about 22.7%. And the younger ones, whom we are supposed to bridge the gap, advocate their interest because we do not have that long generational gap, have about 50.3%. But the problem is, these are the majority still within this 20.7 to 23.7%. The majority of them lack the information. A few who have been to the university, the education system of Uganda has been designed in a state that a university graduate almost assumes a similar status like a former member of parliament or someone who had a political position. During the A-Day, you had a lot of, pomps and swans, enjoyment, everyone, too precious to the society. But you get out of the university, the society where you
parliamentary seat at the university.
So you realize that during your prime time in the university, the relatives and friends are calling on you, checking on you, they hold you as something very precious. Immediately you graduate and you leave the university, every concern is going to be on you. We have Asiimwe who is a doctor. She can support us here, can give us money. We have German who is the IT personnel. He can give us some resources, he can do this. Yet you as a person on a personal level, you're struggling a lot. Even you do not, some move out of the university when they cannot afford a decent meal a day. They stay on a hungry stomach. They have nowhere to sleep. And you expect this to be the same category of people who should extend the cascade of the information that they have gotten from here, pertaining the modus operandi of the society, to take the cascade back to the society, where you're going to be criticized, you're going to be used as a bad omen, bad example. You see Masawi Ivan, he went to the university, but he's here with us. He has become a category, the village champion, digging with us.
To encourage people not to study.
Exactly. They be like, you see him? He even went up to Makerere, the best university north of Limpopo, south of Sahara, but he's here with us, which does not make sense. So you realize that it has created a situation that out of the 23.7% of the citizens who have gotten the information-wise, they have been empowered. They have been pushed to stay either in the slum or within the city, where they try to push, such that the expectation, they meet the expectation from those who are looking up to them. And those ones who have no idea, they lack no information, they're in the village. And they have very poor attitude. I can tell you that, for instance, you go to a society where, last time I was in Budaleja, and the basic to the shocking surprise, I was being told that if you want to be an MP, you even have the capacity. Buying voters with the one packet of salt is okay. You give someone, they're going to vote you simply because I have eaten whatever.
In rural communities.
Yes, in a rural community. Now, there is that extreme gap. Those who have the information, those who have gotten the partial empowerment, they are isolated. They have been isolated in a separate society by the dynamics of what our society is being holding. So it still gets back to those who are holding the mantle at this very particular moment. That is the government and its representative up to down to the grassroots. The government has structure down to the grassroots. There is the LC and so forth. The empowerment should start right from top, and then you ensure that even those at the grassroots are empowered, such that the cascade of the information can be disseminated with lots of ease. Giving a case point, taking an example of the NRM roadmap that today, I don't know whether it's today that the Secretary General is going to launch it out. There are villages, for instance, Yam, the village where I come from, I don't think whether the village registrar will be in position to get this information, or even the sub-county registrar.
WhatsApp, TikTok, Facebook.
No, those are things for luxury. In my village,
newspapers.
Those who have the smartphone, they cannot afford the data. And the majority do not have the
electricity
smartphone.
is off. You remember left, we are doing a transition.
Exactly. So you realize that what is going to take place today, it's going to take some time and the information is going to reach there. Now, away from that, I was very shocked. In my district, the vice chairperson for the NYC at the district level is a man. The chairman is also a man. No, you realize that the
issues of Yam may not end.
Listen, I'm giving it
with your two men as women and men.
No, I'm giving it as a case example.
It is common across.
Just to bring it as, amongst the Wananchis in those less privileged societies or in the villages, it's the same thing that is transpiring. Right here, we sit here, we speak very good English, pertaining affirmative action, this and this and this. This must be done like this. This must be done like this. And the implementation at the forefront, where those who should feel now the impact of what we are discussing here, what we're speaking about here, they have no capacity to implement this or to push for this to be implemented, simply because they have the information gap. Changing attitude and preparing a transition in a country whereby post the Museveni era, we can all thrive when we are very accommodative. First and foremost, civic education must be put on the forefront. And then after that, we must ensure that by all means, information on sensitive agendas reaches out to the 1 inches down.
But
at
how?
the grassroots.
I think we are running out of time. We are the question of how Abraham. I will always invite you by to give us the two female and male. Sarah, I want to come to you on the issue. He points out the issue of effect and impact in the representation, especially for us, the young people, but also the general question as well. today we have very many young people also who are in the tax bracket, who pay taxes. You can come here on the panel when there are some people with even fleeting numbers paying tax. We have a Ministry of National Guidance who has a responsibility to see that we finance it, both me and you, to see that it guides the population. What is your take on that?
Okay, first of all, before I answer your question, Mr. Abraham asked a question about a difference between a controversy between the national law and the laws of the university. I would refer you to a case of Sharon Dimanche and others versus Makerere University. In that case, the facts were the students were sued the university for organizing papers on a weekend because they were Seventh-day Adventists and it was against their right to religion. And when they reached court, the court was very brutal. It told them that there are so many universities that, much as the constitution is saying that everyone has a right to religion and they should be given freedom to participate, it shouldn't affect the rest of the people. Like, you find that you're a Seventh-day Adventist, but not everyone is a Seventh-day Adventist, and many other universities provide those services, which is the same thing. A university can make laws as long as they align with their values and they are not against the non-derogable human rights, like to torture, labor, enslavement, among others. That is the answer to your question. Now, coming back to
national guidance, where are we going wrong? The leaders are going to have the final say because theirs is different. The question is a little twisted.
So, thing is this: as we look at the structure of leadership in Uganda, we are headed by adults who are above adults, like elders. We should call it that, and maybe it is impacted by culture whereby we respect our elders and we think something like that. But you find that when a leader is given power, for example, Museveni, our leader, he comes from security. You find that when he is in power, he will make security better. If you find that maybe a new leader comes and they are a teacher, they would make changes and reforms that are good for education. You find that if a lawyer comes, that's what they will do. That's why it's good for leaders to always resign. Now, national guidance. Most youth have this attitude of, I am not interested in politics. Like, politics doesn't, and when you find yourself watching news, they'll be like, oh my God, you're getting old, it's showing on your face, something like that. Like, it's a very negative attitude towards things of the nation. Why? Because they are not fun, they are ugly. Like, the moment you go down that rabbit hole, you're seeing the worst of it because it is at that stage right now, and people would prefer the softer side of life. My life is already hard. Why should I?
Made me feel like if...
Why should I? My life is already hard. Why should I also look at the hard things of being a Ugandan or something like that? So people need to understand.
Wow.
Oh God. Oh God.
Conclude.
The youth need to understand that politics impacts your life, it impacts your economy, it impacts your finances, because if there is instability, of course the price rates will go high because people won't feel comfortable internationally to trade with us. So they have to, the ministry apparently it's doing what it's supposed to do. All it can. That's of course in quotes. It's doing all it can. Now, this is an individual thing. Like I always say, as an individual, as a youth, you're supposed to stand up and participate in these activities, participate in leadership, sieve these leaders that are coming to represent you in parliament, and say, not only in parliament, but even at the chairman level. You find that the LC1 chairman even has power because you can't buy land without their signature.
Thank you very much. Time is not in in our favor.
Yeah.
But we shall continue this discussion of the youth next time.
Mm.
Coming back to you, Hillary, you as our next executive member of the National Youth Council, which dysfunctions do you feel that if were addressed would enable your service or would enable you really have some impact and relevance on the people you are to represent beginning 2026?
Okay, personally, I'm so passionate about women empowerment.
I wanted
And
those
I don't-
dysfunctions that you feel will
I am
will
correct with
yeah.
that.
Mm.
So personally, I'm passionate about those areas.
Secretary
And
for Female
I
Affairs.
think I've always been in
Mm.
spaces of women empowerment and all that. So for me personally, I feel like there isn't enough platform, there isn't enough empowerment in that area. I don't know why you're making that face.
I disagree.
No,
Personally, I
silence.
disagree.
Oh God.
I-
Please, let's not go down
I-
that rabbit
I
hole.
think-
because I'm
We are not
also
going to go
feminist.
they
down
should there
that.
may be a fashion of the Nabanja Zalupo, but when they don't feel it, she
No.
can be corrected.
We do. I don't feel it. We feel that and we appreciate that. But how many
So
of
now-
those? How many of those?
So you
looking
want
at the
even
population?
the Entebbe house also.
No, I'm not looking at empowering them to parliament as such.
Oh, at the lower level,
At
a
the
lot are
grassroots,
still
how many of
disempowered.
those have been empowered? Like I gave you an earlier case of me going back to Nakasongola, and the people I'm engaging with are all males, and these are people that are having a say over even issues or matters of
Female.
females. That
Two
is
female
totally
youth leaders at the district.
2-1.
For
Of
his
which one
district,
has
they
been
have two
no, I
men.
mean, when you look at the majority of districts, it's only one, of which that one person has been pulled by the men.
Women
So for me, I feel like there is a gap there. And if I am in a position where I can be able to speak and maybe create an environment where we can work towards empowering women at the grassroots. I'm not looking at the prime minister, I'm not looking at the vice president, because if you're to look at that, what is the percentage of those?
Thank you very much. There has been the youth roundtable. Honorable Asiimwe Sarah is the 32nd secretary.
Asiimwe Hillary.
Wow, I'm very sorry. Asiimwe Hillary is the 32nd Secretary for Female Affairs at the Uganda National Students Association. I pray that we shall have you again so that you share with us more of your intentions to the female viewers of the Youth Roundtable. His Excellency German, you could give us the closing remarks today in line with the topic and maybe parting shots because I'm past the time.
All right. I want to thank you so much, Ivan and colleagues. It's been a beautiful discourse. And to the youth out there, because it's a youth roundtable, if you have an opportunity, if you grab an opportunity, please run with it. That's all I can tell you. Why? Because I want to conclude on the basis of the district executive, the district service commission kicking out the youth. But I want to say that is inhumane. And I would say the contributors to that prospective policy are barbaric, because
most people retiring are again dying so fast.
The number of graduates, fresh graduates that you push into the employment world are quite many compared to the outlets.
People who retire.
So we would actually agitate that the
youth
retirement
sit
age be pushed lower, so that they can
create more
accommodate
opportunity
and create more opportunities for the guys coming in for employment.
Well said.
And as I conclude, let me take this chance to ask the Kyambogo University fraternity, that is the alumni and staff, that on 30th of April, we are having a convocation election and I'm aspiring for chairperson. I take this opportunity to seek for your mandate, because we've been saying we want change. Let's come and make a vote of change. And I want to employ them to come and be part of the team that will canvass for funds through marathons, through alumni get-togethers, through runs to ensure that we have a home for Kyambogo University, that is the Kyambogo University Convocation Facility, that both makes money, earns, and runs sustainably. I thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure to host you all. I do appreciate you accepting our invitations, and I request you always stand up for the youth roundtable when we reach by. I remain Masawi Ivan. I want to wish you a happy Easter as we head for Easter. See you again next week, same time, same place.